All right, guys, so today is day 13 of the small account challenge, and I'm finishing the day up $1,002. So, not a bad way to finish the week. I started the week with a really nice trade, $2,300 profit, and I'm finishing the week with a couple nice trades, about $1,000. So, overall, this week I've made about $4,000 on my account, and I'm finishing just at $8,600. So $8,600, that's from a starting balance of $583 just 13 days ago. So I'm definitely, building up the account up about $8,100 or so on the month and just in the last 13 days. And I'm right now on my month where I took $1,000. That was last March, and I turned it into 8,600. It was like 86.53. So I am. Looks like I'm just a couple of dollars off that level, but definitely growing at a much faster, much higher percentage rate because I started with almost half the account size. So that's exciting. Started with $583 and I'm up to 8,600 now, and we're only on day 13. So I was hoping to get another $1,400 winner today so I could hit that $10,000 level, but uh, today wasn't the day. Wasn't able to do it. So, and 10,000 is important. 12,500 is the spot that I really am looking forward to because that'll be the halfway point to 25,000. So, I want to get there as quick as I can. It's like, one of these things where it's almost like, getting 25,000, it's going to be like Christmas Day. I'm just going to be so excited and so happy. But, I've, today is still like, the day after Thanksgiving. So it's like I still got another month to go, a month at best. I mean, if I can make $15,000 in the next month, I'd have to make 17,000 in the next 4 weeks. I don't. I mean, I did 4,000 this week, so it's possible. Um, but I'll need a combination of impeccable risk management with a little bit of good luck, and hopefully we'll have some good setups and some good headlines over the next couple of weeks, and I can get myself up to 25,000. But I got to take it one step at a time and not rush things too much. So I'll show you guys who are watching on screen share here. This is my P&L for the day, $1,002, up $1,100 before commissions. And that's the P&L there on the live account. All right, so my buying power today has, at this point in the day, is up to $50,000. Of course, this adjusts intraday, and it means that I can start to be a little bit more aggressive, which is a good thing, but it can also be dangerous. And that's something that I'm going to have to deal with. Today I'm green on 2 trades, but I took a total of 4, and I only made money on 2 out of the 4. So I actually lost on half of my trades today. So accuracy was dropped down a little bit. And I'll go over the trades I took today. Before I do that, going over the big picture stats, this week I traded with 70% accuracy between both my accounts, and my average profits were 24 cents per share, and my average loss was 14 cents per share. So that's almost the 2-to-1 profit loss ratio with 70% accuracy. That's pretty good. And that's kind of when I set my goals in the beginning of the year for 2017. One of the goals was, of course, to grow this small account to $100,000. The other goal was to try to increase my accuracy to 70%. And the third goal was to try to improve my profit loss ratios. And it's always good to have goals. It's good to be, to set your sights high. If I set my goal at $100,000 and I come in at, 75,000, that's still going to be a great year from $583 starting balance. But if I set my goal at 25,000, it's like I have got to set my goal high so I really work at it and really push. And that's kind of how I motivate myself. So, anyways, those are the big picture stats here for the week. And yeah, finishing with about $4,000 in total gains. So, trades for today. Today was kind of interesting because we had GLBS gapping up about 20% and everyone was watching it. I was seeing it all over Twitter, trending on social media. Everyone wants to watch, GLBS. It's going to be the stock that makes the big move. And I was not feeling very confident about it because I felt like it was obviously gapping up, fairly high versus yesterday's close on no news, no catalyst, really no reason to be moving up that much. And the big move was really pre-market when it went from $9 up to 10.80. That was the cleanest move. And I felt that it was going to be difficult to trade. Now, I also knew that it's restricted in SureTrader, so I'd probably only be able to take 1,000 shares. And when I tried to take one order this morning, I wasn't able to get filled with 1,000. The margin was even lower than that. So, this to me felt like the stock that everyone would be watching, but that everyone would be disappointed by because it wouldn't be clean. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. It was not clean. It, squeezed up, broke over 1150, came up just under 12, and then rolled over pretty hard. In about 5 minutes, we went from 12 all the way down to about 940 or 955. So really not a clean one, not an easy one to trade. And I'm glad that I just stayed clear and just said, you know what, forget about it. Off my watch list, obviously GLBS was in play. CATB was something I was potentially watching for follow through over yesterday's high or the pre-market high of 525, but it did end up being clean, so nothing on CATB, no trades there. A couple others, IDXG. This one just super tricky, sloppy, really. The best setups on this one were also pre-market. The first pullback and the second pullback were pre-market, and then by the time the bell rang, it just sold off. So no trades on that one. ETRM. This one started to open up today kind of unexpectedly. It went from a low of, the low was like 780 or 680 all the way up to over $10. So that's a pretty big squeeze. And on that one, I was thinking that, I wanted to get a piece of the action. It squeezed up, it got halted, but I just felt like I couldn't manage my risk. The spreads were a little bit too big, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. The best entry for most traders would have been right around 10.25 on the first 5-minute candle to make a new high, which would have been a long at 865 and selling through 940, 950. That was the cleanest setup, the first 5-minute pullback. But because it went so parabolic before the first 5-minute pullback, the 5-minute pullback didn't end up being a move back to high a day or continuation. It came back up to 955 and then rolled over. So the trades that I took today, I took SGY. This was called out in the chat room. Someone said, hey, take a look at SGY. It's starting to spike up. And I took a look and I was like, okay, the first thing I look at was the daily chart. And I said, this looks good because it's above the 50 moving average, the 20 moving average, and the 9 moving average. And it was already starting to spike up. There was about 35,000 shares of volume on that 1-minute candle right below 750. So as we broke 750, I got in and I got filled around 755 and 760. We spiked up to a high of 808, which is a nice spike. We pulled back. The first 1-minute candle to make a new high brought us all the way up to 815, and then we dropped down. So I sold on that spike as we came up to 815, and then as we dropped back down, I stopped out of the rest. I watched it consolidate, and I got back in at $8 for the second break over the whole dollar. It ended up popping up, but then faking me out, and I got stopped out of that. I think I lost 2 cents. It wasn't a big loss, but it was just a little annoying. I just felt like this one wasn't very clean. It had potential, but it didn't seem like it wanted to really open up. And this is a stock that's below the 200 moving average. So, I usually prefer stocks above that level. So number one, we're below the 200. And, number two, it's a stock that pretty recently had a fairly parabolic move. There was one in December, and then there was another pretty big one back in July. But even in July, it wasn't that easy to trade. So I was a little unsure about whether or not this would be an easy one. And it ended up being okay from the 850 or 755 entry, up to $8, but then the ad at 8, that didn't end up working out so well. So after that, ETRM was spiking up, and then someone said, hey, take a look at DFFN. I took a look at that one and I said, all right, now this one's interesting as well because it's a former runner. And today's the first day we're making a new high. Yesterday's high was 502, and when I looked at it, it was at 525. So I jumped in at 525, and I almost immediately regretted it because I was like, I thought this would have more volume because it's a former runner. It's a stock that a lot of traders have made a lot of money on during those 2 days where it spiked from $2 up to 16, and sort of like HMNY and I suppose GLBS. It's one of those stocks that I thought people would see spiking on the high day scanner and want to jump into. When I saw it on the high day scanner, I was like, okay, this looks great. But I guess there weren't as many people interested as I thought. So on this one, I got in at 525. We popped up to a high. Let's see, we went up to a high. We hit 525. We pulled back. And then I got it. Where did I get in? We spiked up to a high of 557. And then we dropped all the way down to a low of 499. So, we spiked up 50, 60 cents. We actually got as high as 570. So I was up almost 50 cents per share. And then we went all the way down 75 cents and I was down 25 cents per share. And that's kind of the point where I was like, okay, this is really not what I was expecting. But at the same time, it is a strong setup being the first daily candle to make a new high. So let's let the 5-minute chart play out. And that's what I did. I let the 5-minute chart play out, and I got what we ended up having happen was the first 5-minute candle to make a new high, which was over 540 at 1020, squeezed up back to the high of 570 and all the way up through 607. So I ended up being able to capture some profit into that move, but then I decided to add at $6, thinking that we would squeeze into the move to 7. Thinking that $7 was resistance at the 200 moving average. Well, I added at 6, and then we immediately dropped down to 560. So unfortunately, in SureTrader, I only was able to make $184 or $182 despite that pretty big move. So it was kind of frustrating. It was a setup that I thought had potential, and I just I think I misread it a little bit, and I didn't position myself in the strongest way. I got in a little high expecting it to run, and then I ended up just having to take profit. And then of course I added too high and had to just sort of stop out with a small profit on it. So not the best trade. I certainly don't like to hold trades where I go up 50 cents and then I'm down 25 cents. But this one, the spreads were big. There wasn't enough volume, and that was the result. I think a lot of people were hoping to see a nice move on it and just didn't happen. So, and this is another reminder, like SGY, that stocks below the 200 moving average and stocks that are coming up after having just recently made a big move can have some overhead resistance. Traders who are underwater are going to be selling as it comes up because you know what? When this was up 30% today, and it's still up 16%, when it was up 30%, those traders are like, you know what? I'm up 30% versus this morning, so maybe I'll just go ahead and take it off the table. They mark it out a big order, and all of a sudden, it drops 10 cents or 20 cents. That's the type of thing that we see happen. So we saw it on SGY, we saw it on DFFN, and neither of them were really the best quality setups. I think today I made the best of a slow day, and I wish that there maybe had been some better opportunities. So I suppose a reminder to not be afraid to sit on your hands and not trade if there's really nothing that looks good. But at the same time, I'm walking away with $1,000. The first risk on the day with SGY, 2,200 shares at 750, was really only risking about $300. And then once I got in DFFN, I already had a cushion on SGY. So if I had lost on that, I still most likely would have ended the day green. Maybe only $400 or $500, but still green. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Once you have a cushion on the day, you can start to, be a little bit more aggressive or take, some risks you wouldn't ordinarily take. If I was starting the day right now at noontime, I would not be nearly as aggressive as starting the day at 9:30 because I know lunchtime is not the best time of day to trade. But if I'm already up $2, 3, $4,000, then some of those days I'll say, you know what? Who cares if I lose, $500 on this lunchtime trade? I've got such a big cushion on the day that I can afford to, take the risk. And if we're in a market that's really strong where we're seeing a lot of follow through, then that might be a day to be more aggressive. But again, it's just you kind of have to taper your risk based on the type of day you're having and the type of market we're seeing. And today, maybe with the inauguration and end of the week, that's part of the reason that we're not seeing as much follow through. Based on all of 2016, my trading records, I think Fridays were my slowest day. I'd have to pull that back up, but pretty sure it was Fridays that were the slowest. So that's another thing just to keep in mind. You're at the end of the week. You don't want to do something stupid going into the long weekend or just going into a regular weekend. So trade smart, lock up the profit and then go enjoy the rest of the afternoon. All right. So that's the game plan for me. I'm done for the day. $1,000. That's good. I'll open on Monday right around 8,600, and I've got my eyes set on 10,000. And by the end of next week, I'd like to be at 12,500 at a minimum. That would put me halfway to my $25,000 goal. And realistically, that's only asking $3,500 profit I guess it's $4,000, 12,500. So about $4,000 profit again next week. Well, this week was only a 4-day week. So if I had an extra day, I probably could have done closer to 5,000. So hopefully next week with a full week of trading, I'll be able to do another $4,000 in profit, and that will be a step in the right direction. All right, guys, so that's it for me. I will catch up with all of you first thing on Monday morning. All right, guys, enjoy the weekend.
Let's be honest. If you made it this far, you must have really enjoyed that video. So what's stopping you? Subscribe right here and get email alerts anytime I upload new content. Until then, happy surfing